Yo, what's up, chefs? It's Vinny. I don't want to waste any of your time, so we're going to hop straight into it. This is going to be the most in depth, detailed, and easy to follow guide you've ever seen. I will literally bet my left testicle on it. Who else do you see making Google documents with trade links for all of the items you're going to need while leveling and items you're going to need once you get into the early end game? Also, I've got a Google Docs link with frequently asked questions. You can obviously find these links down in the description below. Damn, looks like I'm getting flashbanged. Anyways, back to the guide. Recently got my monk through the campaign into the end game. I'm currently on like tier 10 maps. This guide is going to get you all the way from level 1 into the end game, at least to tier 10 maps, but I guarantee you it'll bring you farther. I'm just going to say at least tier 10 because that's where I'm at. I've been juicing those maps, absolutely obliterating everything, no problems whatsoever. First things first, I'm going to have some gameplay probably going on the screen over in that corner in just a minute of like maps and stuff, but I thought I would go over the defense, bossing, clear speed, gearing, and complexity rating right here super quick, just give a little bit of credentials to the build. For the defense, I'm going to be rating it as top tier. You can see I'm on my level 74 monk right now. I've got 1776 HP, shout out America, 252 energy shield, which is okay, nothing super crazy. But I've also got 80% evasion and 70% armor. So monsters have a 20% chance to hit me, and then when they finally do, I'm taking 70% reduced damage, which is insane. I'm not joking. I can walk into a map, go AFK, let monsters surround me, start attacking me, come back, and I will not be dead. Like, it is so hard to die on this build. Also, res capped minus chaos. Chaos res is a little expensive, and when you take into account that this is a 0 to hero character, aka no handed down items, no handed down currency, you can find the full episodes on my channel, only using what I found on this playthrough. It's just nuts. Like, it is so free. This is a crazy good build, whether you're a beginner or a veteran, does not matter. For bosses, I'm also rating it top tier. You're going to be absolutely vaporizing bosses, but you don't have to take my word for it. What about the final boss of the campaign? How quickly do you think it's going to die, and how many attacks do you think it's going to get off? Take your guess now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attacks? Or what about 0 attacks? The final boss of the campaign, 0 attacks. You might be saying, well, that's just the campaign. Who cares about the campaign? What about the final boss of the 3rd ascendancy trial of Trial of Secamus, where you get your 5th and 6th ascendancy point? What about that? Let's see what happens here. Okay, it gets 1 attack off that it starts with at the very beginning of the fight. Then it's frozen, and it's dead. It's dead just like that. 1 attack. A singular attack, and I got my 5th and 6th ascendancy point. Also, take note, full honor at the end of the trial. This build is crazy. I'm not trolling. Back to the build guide though. Clear speed, I'm gonna have the gameplay coming up probably in like 10 seconds, so you'll be able to see. It's gonna be like some tier 8 maps, tier 10, somewhere around there, so you can get an idea of the clear speed. Only reason it's not top tier is because it's like a budget build. Like I said, 0 to hero, no twink items. Could be playing Flicker Strike Monk with Porcelain Ring. Could be playing some sort of Ranger build probably and have higher clear speed. But it's still insane. You're one-shotting everything. You're blinking around with Ice Strike. Hard to beat this. Gearing and complexity, also super easy, but not the easiest because you are playing a triple element monk. So there's a tiny bit of added complexity there, but not really. If you follow the build guide, you're going to have 0 issues, I promise. Moving on to the skills, you can see here I've got a lot of different sections. This will get you all the way from level 1 up to at least tier 10 maps. You're going to have no questions. You'll be absolutely blasting, having a great time. To start off, for level 1 to 14, I'm going to highly recommend you go with a bow. You'll be running lightning arrow and lightning rod. You might be asking yourself, well, Vinny, how do I get a bow? Told you this guide was going to be detailed. Super simple. Come to the town, talk to the vendor. He's going to have some bows for you. You can see right here, banger bow adds physical damage, level of projectile skills. You're going to grab yourself a quiver as well. See what he's got for quivers. Boom, insane quiver adds lightning damage and dexterity. You can also type speed, look for some boots with movement speed. He doesn't have any, but that's okay. Then you'll type add, look for some gloves with additional damage, gloves with add lightning damage, bada bing, bada boom. Come talk to Una, see if she's got any rings for sale, ideally an iron ring. She does not, that's okay. The vendors reset every time you level up, so I highly recommend checking them frequently. Back to the skills, and you can see I've got a priority order for your support gems down here and your skill gems. However, general rule of thumb, top to bottom for the skills and left to right for the supports, just in case you're wondering what the priority is. For lightning arrow, you're going to be running martial tempo, pierce, lightning rod, scatter shot, lightning infusion. See a pack of mobs, lightning rod, lightning arrow, they'll fade away to nothing, great time. Bosses, same thing, lightning rod, lightning arrow, easy peasy. Once you get to level 14, and specifically you get some uncut level 5 skill gems, you're going to make your swap to melee. You're going to be running Ice Strike with Martial Tempo, Concentrated Effect, Tempest Spell with Rage, Combo Finisher. Super quick note here, this is assuming that you don't have access to level 2 and 3 uncut support gems. Either you're doing a 0 to hero like I was, or this is your first playthrough. If you do have access to those higher level support gems, just go over a page or two, check the support gems there, and you'll have a better understanding. But back here, Herald of Ice, you get this from the side quest for your spirit stuff from Finn in Act 1, the Highlands or whatever, where he teaches you about ritual. We're going to be running Herald of Ice with Magnified Effect and Cold Infusion. And then we're going to be going Hypothermia with Heightened Curse and Expanse to give you more area of effect, more effect, and it'll have a 6-second cooldown, but you'll only be using this on unique campaign bosses, not rares, not magics. Moving on from there, around level 30ish, once you get your level 2 support gems and you get your first Lesser Jeweler Orb, you're going to be adding on all of these things. Still running Ice Strike, we're adding in Primal Armament, still running Tempest Spell, but now you've got level 2 supports, so you can swap Combo Finisher for Heavy Swing. You can also add in Ignition. I'll just quickly add, you don't need to worry about Ignition until you're actually committed to going triple element, which you'll understand with the passive skill tree. Hypothermia, same as before. Charge Staff, this is a fun one. This is how you act like Darth Maul, or you get to be Darth Maul, I should say. We're running Conduction, Overcharge, and Cold Exposure. This is going to be a large portion of your lightning damage and how you're getting your shocks off. You'll also be applying Cold Exposure, particularly once you get Ice Bite on Ice Strike, but if you have any added cold damage in your build, it'll be doing Cold Exposure. If not, you have to wait till Ice Bite. But with that being said, you probably won't even get a third slot for Charge Staff unless you've got extra stuff in your stash until you've got a fourth slot for Ice Strike, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Herald of Ice, same as before, except we're swapping Cold Infusion for Cold Penetration, and we're going Cold Mastery for a third slot. The reason why we're getting rid of Cold Infusion, and you'll see that there's no other infusion gems during this build, is because since you're going triple element, the negative effect of the minus 50 damage to the other elements is actually going to start to hurt you more than it does good to get the plus 25% increased damage of the chosen element. So once you commit to triple element, you're going to want to steer away from infusion gems. Just trust me on that. You'll see it once you're actually playing the build. Cold Mastery for the third slot though. Then we're going to have Combat Frenzy with Profusion. This is how we're going to be powering up our charge staff and actually getting power charges. You'll also have to have a certain passive skill in the tree called Resonance, but like I said, we'll talk about that in the passive tree. There's a whole explanation in the notes and on the facts page of the Google Doc. You'll also want to run Clarity, but you won't be able to afford that until you get through Act 3 Cruel and you're at 100 spirits, so don't worry about it until then. Same thing with Wind Dancer. You're going to want to run Wind Dancer, but you won't have enough spirit for it until you get to Act 3 Cruel. So until then, don't worry about these things. Once you get into the endgame though, how do you want your skills to look like for maps? You're also going to be doing a level 65 Ascendancy respec. You're going to be going out of Unbound Avatar and I Am the Thunder. You're going to be going up to here, and then for your 5th and 6th point, you'll go back into I Am the Thunder. But at level 65, you'll just have these four. What do you want your skills to look like then? Well, I've got a section for it. For your 4th slot on Ice Strike, you're going to be adding an Ice Bite. This will be giving you extra cold damage on your other attacks, aka Charge Staff with Cold Exposure, which is very helpful. and everything else is going to be pretty much the same, except for you're going to have a lot of extra support, or not supports, but passive aura effects because of this skill called Lead Me Through Grace. Basically, for every 15 evasion rating on your body armor, which you're going to be getting a high evasion rating body armor, I got this one for like 3 exalts, maybe even 2, can't remember at this exact moment, it'll be giving you a lot of extra spirit. With that extra spirit, you're going to want to slot Herald of Thunder with Lightning Mastery, Elemental Focus, and Innervate. Elemental Focus is nice because Herald of Thunder already cannot shock enemies, so you don't need to worry about it not inflicting elemental ailments, it's just free damage. Then you'll also be grabbing Ghost Dance as well, and depending on how good your chess piece is, that'll determine how many of these extra little things you can throw in, like Clarity, Vitality, and Cannibalism. They all reserve more spirit. The better your chess piece is, the more evasion rating, the more spirit you get from Lead Me Through Grace, the more of the spirit you can reserve with these extra supports. Hopefully that wasn't too complicated. If it was, feel free to drop a comment. I'll make sure to respond to every question that gets asked, and I'll update the frequently asked questions Google Doc with every question that people ask that I haven't already answered. Next up, we'll be going over the passives, which you can follow along by coming over to this area, clicking on the full screen icon. Then you can barely see my mouse all the way down over here to the left. You can just click on the far left little icon. It'll bring you back to the beginning, and then you can just follow along while you're leveling. Have a great time. Not going to spend too much time on the passives because that skills section was kind of long. Like I said, I don't want to, at the beginning of the video, like I said, I don't want to waste too much of your guys' time. You can get back into the game, have a blast. But I will just cover some of the important parts and kind of the route you're going to take. Starting things off, you're going to come up, grab Killer Instinct for the increased damage. Then you'll go down, grab tenfold attacks. Then you'll make your way up here, grab Echoing Frost. You're going to stop at Echoing Frost for now. At this point, we're pretty much just going to be a 1-element build, but that's going to build as you get higher level. Then you're going to come grab the Blind Chance and increased attack damage, which is super nice. You're going to make your way up a little bit, and you're going to go towards Resonance, but you're not going to grab it yet, because you don't have Charge Staff yet, most likely. Going to come grab Deep Trance. This will definitely help with any mana issues you're having at this point in the campaign. It'll also give you a bunch of extra attack speed, which is super nice. It would be at this time that, one, you've already done your Ascendancy trial, I forgot to mention that, you grab I Am the Thunder, but it'll be at roughly this point that you're going to have Charge Staff and Combat Frenzy. Whenever you get those two skills, you're going to want to grab Resonance, which is why I believe, yeah, that's the next thing I show on the skill tree. If you're not at that point yet, you can skip Resonance for now. After that, you're going to come back and grab Essence of the Storm. This is going to be helping with your lightning damage from Charge Staff and just in general throughout your build. But mainly it'll be helping with your shock chance from both of the nodes, giving you 45% increased chance to shock, which is very helpful. After that, now that you've got Charge Staff, your lightning damage is coming online, you can go ahead and grab Echoing Thunder. Then we're going to go on a pretty big journey, come up grab this Jewel Socket, but that's just so that way you can make your way down here in the most effective way. What did we grab? Oh, yeah, next are the next 2 Ascendancy points. Around this time, you'll be ascending again, grab Unbound Avatar. Then you can grab Echoing Flames. Now that you've got Unbound Avatar, at this point, you'll see in the gear section, you will need to have some added fire damage on your gear. Ideally, it's going to be your weapon, your gloves, or your rings, or all 3. The gear section and the gear trade links, super helpful for this. But if you don't have any added fire damage, Echoing Flames will be of no value to you. Assuming you do though, go ahead and grab Echoing Flames. Next, we're going to come all the way down here. We're going to grab Coming Calamity for the increased damage while we're using Herald of Ice. We'll also be using Herald of Thunder later on, so this will be a double banger. Then we're going to do a quick respec. The only thing that gets respec is tenfold attacks. Not everyone does this. This is one of the more unique things to my build, outside of the fact that it's triple element, which I haven't really seen anyone else doing. But I get rid of tenfold attacks just because you're not going to be getting hit very often. So that 6% increased attack speed from being hit recently is kind of a dead, like wasted thing. From there, we're going to actually use those 2 points to start going towards this attack speed. So we're going to grab this attack speed. We're going to grab the extra freeze buildup, which is nice. It's one of the things that makes me think getting Essence of the Mountain is not necessary, even though way later on you might want to grab it anyways because it is so close. After you grab this, though, we're going to keep going. Where were those 2 points? Oh yeah, those 2 points are right here. I'm a doofus. You grab Martial Artistry. This will help with your plus Dexterity because you will need a lot of Dexterity for this build, and you'll need Intelligence for Hypothermia, but the Dexterity is mainly going to be from like your chest piece requirements later on, but you go and grab that now. The increased accuracy and crit damage bonus is also nice, and it's at this point that we're going to start actually getting some crit stuff. You can see up until this point there was like no crit on the tree pretty much, but now you want to start, actually critting. So we grab this first, then this area is super valuable. So we're going to grab True Strike for the Jugular and Deadly Force, grabbing all of these nodes on the way in this order. Grab this one, not this one. This one is way better than this one. You get 20% extra damage. Then we're going to go down here. Also, really good nodes. You get a flat 1% critical hit chance. So instead of your weapon having like 10%, it'll actually be 11%. That extra 1% is going to be getting modified by all of the increases to critical hit chance on the tree, which is very important. Don't sleep on it. Then we'll come up here, grab Moment of Truth. Then we're going to grab 2 extra power charges. This is going to help with your charge staff uptime and your charge staff damage. Even up to this point, you shouldn't have any issues with your charge staff uptime, but at this point, you should have no issues whatsoever ever with your charge staff uptime. It'll be up all the time. Then after that, we're going to start getting some defensive stuff. It's around this time. You should be level 65, basically, right when you get this node. That's when you're going to hit the end game, and you're going to want to make your Ascendancy swap, which is going to come soon, or it's actually the very next step. So you need to start getting some evasion. This is how you're going to get super tanky out of nowhere. Like, you're already kind of tanky at this point. You shouldn't be getting hit much in the campaign. Honestly, I barely died in the campaign, but if you're having issues, you could like go for some defensive stuff earlier, but I wouldn't recommend it. But at level 65, you're going to come down and grab Bestial Skin. Then you're going to respec your Ascendancy out of Unbound Avatar, out of I Am the Thunder. You're going to grab Lead Me Through Grace and Protect Me from Harm. If you watch the skill section, you'll know why Lead Me Through Grace is so important. Protect Me from Harm, probably the most OP defensive node in the game, and maybe even like compared to POE 1 too. I didn't play too much POE 1, only like 1500 hours, but this node is just so insane. This is how, if you looked at the beginning of the video, I had 80% evasion and 70% armor, although none of my gear is giving me armor. It's from this. So the way we scale these two things is by getting a ton of evasion though. That's why you have a really high evasion chest piece. Grab Bestial Skin, doubles it, super nice. Then we're going to go here. This is going to give us a bunch of max energy shield. Then here, give us more evasion, more dexterity, help with our dexterity requirements. After that, we're going to come down and grab Harness the Elements, and you're going to want to go this way specifically, and not this way, because these are the nodes that give you increased chance to ignite, which is going to help. Ignite is like the only one of the 3 elements that you should have any trouble applying. Shock, chill, freeze are going to be very easy. Ignite, you got to work for a little bit. You need the added fire damage on your gear, and these nodes will help, even though you don't need these nodes actually, but they do help. And they improve the rate at which you ignite enemies, especially bosses. And then finally, Harness the Elements, super nice node. You get 15% increased. Hello. Okay, you get 15% increased damage for each type of elemental ailment on enemy, and that includes Ignite, Chill, Freeze, Shock. Also Electrocute. We're not electrocuting yet. And the end game, like deep end game version of the build that I'll come out with later, I'll probably figure out how to put Electrocute in there for increased value. But right now, we're just getting 60% increased elemental damage, which is still really nice. And actually, it's not even elemental damage. It's just increased damage, which is insanely nice. Like, 60% increased damage is crazy. This is how we're one of the reasons that we're vaporizing bosses at light speed. And that's where we are at level 75. At think this will be like pretty much level 75. You might be able to get this, might be like level 79, roughly somewhere around there. Level 75 to 80, somewhere in that area, this is where you'll be. And like I've said plenty of times already in the guide, you'll be blasting, having a good time. And finally, we're going to talk about the gear. As you can see, as with the rest of the guide, I've got a lot of detail here. I've got 3 different sections, one for when you're just rocking the bow, then level 14 to endgame, and then an example setup once you are doing maps in the endgame. This is basically a direct import of what my monk is currently wearing that I've been blasting through everything with. It's all very cheap too. I think I spent like 3 exalts on the chest piece, 2 on the weapon. Everything else was 1. Not joking, very cheap. And especially if you're a beginner, I'm going to highly recommend you make use of the trade link Google document that you can find down in the description. It's got a lot of notes here, basically teaches you how to trade. It explains all of the important stats, so I'm not going to go over all of them because this video would get really long. But just to show you how it works, let's say you get to the end game, you're looking for a body armor. Okay, come down to the late campaign, early end game section, triple element, easy. Come down to body armor, read the notes, especially if you're a beginner. Main thing here is it says sort by the thing on the bottom. You can zoom in to 150%, see my pretty artistic drawing, arrow pointing to the thing on the bottom. Then you're gonna open the link, it'll bring you to the website. Boom, click on the thing at the bottom, and there you go. 1 exalted orb. Easy peasy. 1500 evasion rating, 1 exalted orb, 23 minutes ago, 46 resistances. You can do a little bit of window shopping if you want. This one's got life and it's got life regeneration. This one's actually and more resistances. Definitely you'd want to pick this one up. Quick little tip, this number does include quality, but it does not include runes. So this is what it would be at 20% quality. That's why this number isn't the same as this one. But it's not runes. So this one's 1492, this one's 1403, but this one's already got runes. So if you put runes in this one, it would actually be higher than even this one. This would be an insane deal. 2 minutes ago, 1 exalted orb, bang your chest piece, you'll be melting everything. Well, the chest piece isn't going to help you melt everything, but you'll not be getting hit by anything. And you get some life and life regen. That's window shop stats. Other than that, like I said, I'm not going to go over all of the stats because we'd be here all day. I'll just briefly hover over some of the gear so you guys can see. Amethyst rings, super important. You get that chaos res. The Azure amulet's pretty nice because you get the mana regeneration rate. Mana regen is a slight issue with this build, but it's easily solvable with this amulet and 1 ring that leeches physical attack damage as mana. Obviously, you want movement speed on your boots. Belt doesn't really matter too much. Gloves, you're gonna want fire damage to attacks. Lightning damage to attacks is a bonus, but you really want fire damage. Your weapon, same thing, you're gonna want fire damage. You might want some fire damage on one of your rings, or maybe both if you can afford it. But that fire damage to attacks is what's gonna allow you to be igniting enemies. Other than that though, highly recommend you check out the Google Doc. I spent a fair bit of time, laying this out, putting in a bunch of information. Once again, very, very helpful if you're newer to the game. It's got window shop stats. It's got all of the condensed links. If you don't want to see all the BS up at the top with the notes and everything, you just come down here, you click on the links, brings you to the website. All the filters are set up. Minimum, maximum level requirements are set up. Price maximum is set up, so you're not going to be spending a boatload of money, and you're good to go. Alrighty, that is going to conclude the build guide. You can find all the links down below, the max roll planner, the Google document with items, gearing, and trade links, the frequently asked questions Google document. Really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe. Plan to make a lot more POE content in the future, build guides, gameplay series, everything, you name it. Haven't been a POE main content creator in the past, but I plan to be one in the future, so if you like this stuff, make sure to stick around. With that being said, I will also be making a deep endgame version of this build guide in the future. Be same as this one, very detailed, step by step, give you everything you need. And other than that, Happy New Year and have fun blasting. And last but not least, take it easy, chefs.
Watch your blue eyes fade to